Greetings. Welcome to Simmer's Morning Skate, Vancouver Hockey Now. It is my distinct pleasure to bring in one of the greats of North American hockey broadcasting, formerly of NBC Sports, about 2.5 decades, the TV voice of the Carolina Hurricanes, and now the TV man, the play-by-play man for the inaugural Seattle Kraken. It is none other than Mr. John Forslund. John, how are you?
I'm all right, Simmer. How are you? That's quite a build-up. Thanks very much.
Oh, you're the man.
I don't deserve any of that.
Come on. Are you kidding me? How's life in the Emerald City, first of all? You're drinking coffee. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect segue. We're Starbucks started. But how's it going so far? Settling in?
Yeah, settling in is right. It's tremendous. You know, this was very unusual because of the pandemic, right? I'd never been to Seattle in my life and went through the interview process and all of that virtually because of the pandemic. And then came here for the first time in July, was out here for both drafts, spent about 10 days here, absolutely glorious conditions. And now been here for about 2 weeks. So getting myself acclimated to a new home. Been busy every day. The anticipation is growing. I can just tell you that the excitement is off the charts for this team here. And I can't wait for Thursday when it gets real. We have a training camp. We actually see the players, really focused in and kick off the preseason on Sunday.
Very, very nice. I look forward to being in Spokane to watch the first. You know, it's funny. I was actually sitting next to Dan Rusanowski, and I was visiting with Bob Nagley for the first ever Minnesota Wild preseason game in history on the road, and that was in Portland, Oregon,
Wow.
22 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark. And I hope to be in Spokane on Sunday to see the first ever Seattle Kraken game. That'll be kind of cool. Great town. Welcome to the region. I'm right up the road. And with that in mind, has it slipped into any conversations or thoughts about this rivalry that potentially will grow rather quickly between the closest team up the road, the Vancouver Canucks? This is kind of cool, the proximity.
Yeah, the proximity leads you right into it, right? But more importantly, I think right away, these two teams are competing for a playoff spot. So in this division, anything's possible. I think, you and I have discussed this. Vegas has separated from the pack for now, and then everybody else legitimately has a chance to get in there, including the 3 California teams. So from the very first game that they see each other in preseason, I think it'll start. You have the geographic proximity, but as you know, the key in all of this is when they play in the playoffs. And if there's a playoff round between these two, and hopefully many for years to come, that's where the hatred becomes inbred. That's where the two fan bases travel back and forth. All kinds of great things can happen. So the possibilities are endless, and these two franchises will push each other.
I think it's hilarious because the exhibition game on the 26th, it'll probably be kids. Who knows what that lineup will be, regardless of the results. The game on the 5th of October, another exhibition. Vancouver fans might get a little nervous if something goes wrong in that one. And then obviously we see each other early in the regular season. They'll be nervous about potentially losing to the expansion team. So let's face this, John. Are we really going to see a duplication of it, like William Karlsson scoring 43 goals and having 5 20-goal scores, and having Shea Theodore break out, and Riley Smith and Marc-Andre Fleury doing what he did in 17-18? I mean, come on. Do we really think this Kraken lineup can pull something like that off?
To be fair, you'd say no, right? I mean, you're really wishing for something that might be unrealistic. I will say, you bring up Karlsson, right? No one saw that one coming. He looked like he was a 3-center, checking center, coming into that first season, and then bang, he gets a big contract, and he's a legitimate 2, and on a great elite team, he might be a 3, moving forward in his career. But those are the types of stories, Simmer, that you have to hope you see. But you have to look at it realistically. And I think if you look at the Kraken roster, what's assembled right now, scoring is a weakness. Center ice play until Gord gets back, Yanni Gord healthy. That's an area that they can hone up on moving forward. But defensively, from the goal out, it's not too bad. They have a nice foundation. And with Dave Haxtell at the helm, you know, known for being a systematic coach, a defensive coach in a new environment. You know, I think he kind of got kicked to the curb in Philadelphia. I'm not sure that was really fair how things went down there. So here he'll be able to put that in place from day number one. That puts this team in a position to be in games. And I think that's what you want. You don't want to see that disparity that we saw many years ago when expansion teams took at least 5 years to be real. And they went in there just crossing their fingers and they were just outclassed most nights. That's not going to be the case here. The league is different. The rosters are completely different. The salary cap had much to do about that. So yeah, I think realistically, let's just say they're going to be a competitive team. And if you get to that perfect storm in March and April, and I think that's when the fan base kicks in. And that's really what happened in Vegas. I mean, Vegas, to be fair, went through 5 goalies that first year, but they did have 2 incredibly long winning streaks, as you recall. Yeah. And it became a perfect storm. And that's what you need. And then you have the energy and the emotion. You know, they went from that horrible tragedy at the beginning of that year to writing this unbelievable story with many of the players, you know, really just cast off to that lineup, right? So that's what makes this interesting and hopefully a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's something I've forgotten. You know, it's something you'd like to forget about, and I have brought that up in a story I've written before about the fact the team did gel, really come together around the shooting incident, and obviously that's something that no team ever wants to have experience in the history of mankind, but that was a factor, and it's the wrong kind of thing to have to pull a team together. Some amazing history up here in that you just mentioned the expansion and what other teams have gone through. Of course, in 1970, it was the Canucks and Sabres coming into the league, and there were some lean years. And of course, Seattle was the first American team to win the Stanley Cup. I believe 1918. So it's crazy, some of the history with the hockey. Have you worked on your puns? So you mentioned if they go in a winning streak or losing streak, they'll be smoking to Kraken. If they get into a line brawl, they'll be cracking to heads. You know, like it's endless.
You can put all of those. You can put all of those in a suggestion box, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Now, how long is Gord out? By the way, your center position's kind of weak anyway, and now Yanni Gord is how long?
Yeah, so I had dinner with Ron Francis last week. Yep. And we're going to get to camp and we're going to get more of a definitive word. But to me, it appears a little bit more optimistic than, say, it was in July. So I don't know if the wait's going to be that long. Sooner the better, obviously. I mean, this guy gets an opportunity to flourish in this lineup, really, and take it to another level. And that's the beauty of this. A lot of these players can reset their careers. They're going to be in roles and slots that were different than, say, in Gord's case, where he was with that Tampa Bay team in the 3-hole. You know, here he's in a 1-2 hole. You know, how does that work out for him? Is it too much? Is it just right? Does he flourish even more? You know, who knows? Time will tell on that. But I think there could be some good news on the horizon with him.
Anybody else intrigue you on the roster? Like you're kind of like, I'm really curious what this guy's up to. And with that in mind, also the goaltending. I ranked the goalies in the Pacific, and you know, take the team away from it and the backup away from it. I mean, come on, Philip Grubauer. Like this is a if you're working from the goal out, that's a pretty damn good start.
Yeah, it was a home run, and I think Francis did a good job right away with 3 young goalies that he selected. Right, Chris Drieger put himself in a real good spot, pushing Bobrovsky in Florida, getting an opportunity to be maybe a 1. So on expansion draft day, he is the number 1 goalie. Then there's Vitek Vanacek, who's an up-and-coming goalie, got forced in last year, as you know, and did a great job with Washington. But when Grubauer became available, and then they signed Grubauer, I mean, that's the home run of the offseason, really, when you look at it league-wide. So this team's going to need 2. Most teams do, but based on their schedule, the amount of travel, you're going to have 2 prime goalies ready to go to keep you in games. Then you get to the back end, and I think the back end has a lot of balance, has some great leadership with Giordano, Larson, and Alexiak. You've got some young burgeoning guys like Lausanne and Soucy, Hayden Fleury. But on defense, I think Vince Dunn's going to be interesting to watch. You know, here's a guy who has always looked for more with St. Louis, could never get there. He's had some injury problems, some slotting problems. He underachieved a little bit, but he has the skating ability and the puck skills. They're going to need him on the power play. You know, one of the two units, you're going to see a lot of Vince Dunn, I would imagine. So, you know, because their group of defensemen are pretty solid, but that offensive guy that you need in today's game, you know, he might be the outlier. He might be the guy that really provides all of that. So I'm looking for him. And then forward wise, it's balanced. It doesn't, you know, knock your socks off. I think that's impossible in the expansion process, but all four lines have some scoring ability. And I think you're right. I think they need to hone up down the middle. That's the true strength of any team. And but I think that Hackstall's got some interchangeable parts, which will be interesting to watch.
John, just give us last thing here, the whole vibe, like the arena.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of, it's a green area. You know, we refer to sometimes the crispy crunchies and the environmental elements, and it's similar to Vancouver in a lot of ways that way. Just the mentality of the franchise that way, and how they've approached this whole thing.
Okay, so yeah, organically is a good word. So excitement wise, the only thing I can relate it to, if you can imagine the anticipation before a playoff round in any market, that's what it feels like already. Okay, so the fan events I've been to, we opened up the practice facility. It's $80 million facility. It's absolutely beautiful. It was fantastic. So there's a definite vibe. There's merchandise everywhere. Everywhere you go in the city, you're going to see a Kraken ball cap. You're going to see polos and jackets and so on. It's everywhere. So they've done a really good job with that. The colors are striking. People will debate the name. I've seen for and against, but you have to have a catchy name. You have to have a name that strikes a chord and people remember. I think they hit a home run with that. And then I think when you get to Climate Pledge Arena, Simmer, it is absolutely fantastic. It will be one of the best buildings in the world. The amenities, it's all tricked out. It's absolutely fantastic from top to bottom. I toured it in July. You know, basically still a shell, but I went from the bottom of the building all the way up and got to see the inner workings of all the detail work they've done downstairs. The visitors room will be better than most home rooms in the league. The home room is unbelievable. So everything here is first cabin, and then you get to the messaging, right? So the cynics of the world will have everything to say. The political people have everything to say about whatever side of the fence you're on these days, and that's really unfortunate. But when you look at what they're trying to do here, the Kraken are trying to make a difference in the community and really league-wide. They've been trendsetters in many ways. The hiring practices, the community presence, the initiatives they've taken on, the commitment to the climate, which is real. When you come in the building as a fan, you will go down these escalators in this grand hall, and there will be LED murals all around you telling you about Climate Pledge and what it's all about. So they stand behind it. And, you know, I use the hashtag on my Twitter account, that's Kraken Hockey. And that encompasses everything they do. And it sounds really idealistic right now and all this kind of thing. But for me, this will be my 30th year in the NHL. This is very refreshing to be a part of this. And I feel privileged to get this opportunity to kind of mark time at this stage of my career with a team. So for what they stand for. I'm proud to say I'm a member of this organization, great people here. So that's a synopsis. That's what it's all about. And then we'll finally get to wins and losses. And that will determine most people's attitudes moving forward. But at least this is a good start.
Very, very good. Yeah, you need people need to have ideals. That's the starting point. You're going to build off that.
That's right.
And
That's
for
right.
30 years, John, you look great. Spring chicken. What are you kidding me? 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
I was laughing that I got paid $10 under the table to cover my first NHL game, Detroit Red Wings, Vancouver Canucks. That was in 1981, John, 40 years ago as a teenager.
I got paid under the table 6 of my 7 years in the American League.
Really?
Yeah, 84 to 91, something like that.
Don't tell the IRS if they.
There's a blank thing on my record there. It wasn't around. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it's always a distinct pleasure having a chat with you and run into you at rinks, which hopefully we'll be doing in the next few days. And we appreciate your time and wish you the very best. Well, from the fans around here, by the way, this is Gordie Howe. You might have heard of him. He did actually, he was one of the co-founding owners of the Vancouver Giants WHL team. But I keep him around because he's still my hero. But the fans around here will not be pulling for you. I'll be pulling for you, of course, personally, John. But thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you at the rink.
Thank you, Simmer. My pleasure. All the best to you, buddy. Take care.